Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Hello, Jays Nation. There are moments in an off-season when the noise suddenly fades, when rumors stop feeling like background chatter and start sounding like footsteps approaching a door that's about to be kicked open. Today feels exactly like one of those moments. Welcome back to Jays Nation News, where every twist of this wild off-season reaches you before it hardens into a headline. What we're dealing with today isn't just one update, but two storylines that together may represent the biggest turning point for this franchise since the arrival of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And before we go any further, let me ask you the question that's quietly haunting this entire fanbase. Do you think Toronto is hiding something big? Because behind the scenes, that's precisely how it feels. If you're new here or you've been riding with us through every high and low, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a single development here on the Blue Jays Report. This off-season is moving too fast to blink, and missing one detail could mean missing the bigger picture entirely. Let's go straight into the first update, because it's one that's reshaping everything else. Toronto cannot move Jose Berrios, and that reality is quietly changing the entire fate of this off-season. What started as a financial inconvenience has now evolved into a pressure point that influences nearly every decision sitting on the front office's desk. It's remarkable how one contract, signed with optimism and stability in mind, can end up dictating the rhythm of an entire winter. Toronto didn't come into this off-season timid. Quite the opposite. They pushed aggressively for Dylan Cease, brought in Cody Ponce, and made it very clear to the rest of the league that repeating 2025 was never the goal. The ambition was obvious. Pitch better. Go deeper. Be October ready from the first day of spring training. But every ambitious blueprint has a bottleneck, and for the Blue Jays, that bottleneck is Berrios' contract. According to Ken Rosenthal, expectations within the organization itself have shifted. The belief now is that there simply won't be buyers. 3 years remaining. $66 million still owed. And while Berrios has maintained surface-level stability in his ERA, evaluators are paid to look underneath, and what they see makes them uncomfortable. Command trending down. Strikeout rates slipping. A trajectory that doesn't scream upside. And when upside disappears, so does the willingness to absorb that kind of money. The league's verdict so far has been blunt. No one wants it. This is where the off-season tightens like a vice. If Toronto truly wants to operate at the top of the market, whether that means reopening the door for BOMBSHELL, making room for a mega deal like Kyle Tucker, or adding another elite arm, they need financial oxygen. And every day that passes without clearing that space narrows their options. The clock doesn't pause for sentiment. So here's the uncomfortable debate that's happening quietly behind closed doors. Should the Jays eat a massive portion of the contract just to unlock flexibility? Or would that be reckless, considering Berrios can still give you 160 to 180 innings of stability in a rotation that desperately needs durability in 2026? This isn't a simple maths problem. It's philosophy versus urgency. There's another layer to this that gives the situation even more gravity. By keeping the contract intact, Toronto risks being paralyzed in a market where timing is everything. The front office knows the race for Bichette is real. They know Kyle Tucker has half the league circling him. They know elite bullpen arms don't come cheap. And they know these moves don't wait politely while you hesitate. Opportunities disappear quietly, signed away while you're still calculating. Now think about this carefully. If holding on to Berrios prevents Toronto from attacking two major targets instead of one, what is the true cost of keeping him? Because the cost may not be measured in innings, but in ceilings. And this is where the story becomes explosive. Internally, the Jays already acknowledge they may have to accept a symbolic return for Berrios. Not because they think he's useless. Not because they want to erase him. But because the offseason is moving too fast for Toronto to remain anchored to past commitments. And that leads us to the question that's going to split this fanbase right down the middle. What matters more right now? Berrios' value as a back-end rotation stabilizer, or the potential of landing a true superstar who raises the entire franchise's ceiling? Think about it, and tell me in the comments, because for once, the fans' dilemma mirrors the front office's crossroads perfectly. Now let's move to update number 2, because if the first story brings tension, This one brings anticipation. Toronto is attacking the market like never before. Tucker, Bichette, Suarez, and a secret move that could explode without warning. The atmosphere around the winter meetings has shifted, and insiders are noticing. It's rare to hear so many executives, agents, and rival front offices describe the Blue Jays using words usually reserved for perennial juggernauts. Aggressive, omnipresent, hungry. When that kind of language spreads, it means Toronto isn't watching the market. They're shaping it. This behavior only shows up when a franchise genuinely believes its championship window is wide open. And the Jays are acting like a team that refuses to let that window close quietly. At the top of the priority list sits Robert Suarez. Toronto doesn't want another arm. They want control. They want dominance. They want someone who can walk into October games and suffocate chaos without blinking. With names like Edwin Diaz, Ryan Helsley, and Emilio Pagan already off the board, Suarez has become the crown jewel of what remains. The pursuit has intensified because the front office understands a hard truth. You don't win championships by surviving the ninth inning. You win them by owning it. But here's where things get fascinating. Ross Atkins openly admitted that reinforcing the bullpen while also landing an impact position player would be very difficult. On paper, that sounds like a warning. In practice, Toronto's actions suggest defiance. They're trying to do both. They're pushing simultaneously on multiple fronts, even while publicly acknowledging the difficulty of doing so. And that contradiction is exactly what has insiders buzzing. Cautious words. Aggressive actions. It's the posture of a front office that knows something others don't. That's where Kyle Tucker enters the picture. One of the most complete offensive forces in baseball. Tucker visited the Jays complex in Dunedin, and while a visit doesn't guarantee a deal, it sends a powerful message. He listened. He didn't brush them aside. For a franchise that once struggled to attract stars of that magnitude, that alone speaks volumes about how Toronto is now perceived. Then there's Bo Bichette. Negotiations remain deep and delicate. Despite his massive market value, he continues talking with Toronto, something that wouldn't happen if the commitment wasn't real on both sides. His defensive flexibility during the World Series, his emotional connection to the franchise, and his star power make this situation increasingly urgent. Time is moving, and Toronto knows hesitation here could be fatal. And now we reach the part of the story that has the fanbase buzzing late into the night. A rumor circulating quietly through the winter meetings corridors. Not publicly reported. Not tied to any major insider. A move involving a name no one has mentioned. Something being handled with extreme secrecy. No leaks. No breadcrumbs. When nothing leaks, it's usually because the stakes are too high to risk exposure. The front office's posture has shifted to quiet, selective, calculated. And that's the posture of an organization on the verge of dropping something that rewrites the off-season narrative entirely. Is it real? Based on the level of aggressiveness, the number of conversations happening simultaneously, and the confidence with which Toronto is moving, it certainly feels possible. Maybe even likely. A bombshell doesn't announce itself. It arrives unannounced. So here we are, Jays Nation. Two storylines pulling Toronto in opposite directions. The weight of past commitments versus the ambition of a future that feels within reach. Now I want to hear from you. What should the Jays do with Berrios? Does he still belong in this plan, or is it time to absorb the loss and unlock something bigger? Between Tucker, Bichette, and Suarez, who truly pushes this team closer to a championship? And finally, do you feel it too? That sense that something massive is about to break? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this deep dive, drop a like, share it with fellow fans, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report, because the next video might be the one that changes this franchise's history. Stay alert, stay locked in, and as always, go Jays go.